Guys, make sure you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
It massively helps us out. Enjoy the episode.
Because I saw a recent interview with, who's the Man City? Is it Cole Palmer?
Cole Palmer's the Man City player.
Man City player, yeah. And it sort of blew up online about how raw the interview was. I think the same goes with Ben Foster. His interviews are very raw. Do you ever help players with their media training, or is that a specific job within the club?
So we have a comms department who would help them with that. And yeah, it's interesting because, you know, I think I always like looking back at old Twitter, you know, like 2009 to 2013, and you see the players, like, they used to talk just like, you know, I mean, Victor Wanyama's tweets are the famous ones, you know, about putting paranormal activity in the
Rooney
bin.
as well, right?
Rooney. And that was them unfiltered. But now they get jumped on if they say one thing out of place or get criticised. And I think, like, a lot of the times they're so afraid of having opinions that they just say nothing.
Yeah.
And, like, I find it quite boring to follow a lot of the players on social media. I find it boring, a lot of the interviews, and that's just the way it is, because they say one thing interesting or they say one thing that's of note and they get jumped on. I remember there was a player I worked with who I think came out that he played the guitar, and it was something he just did at home for a bit of fun, and it leaked online. I can't remember, someone of his friends put it on Twitter or something like that, and it went viral that he was a guitar playing player.
Yeah.
Then every time he was on Sky or BT or whatever, they'd say, "Oh, can you play us a song?" or this, and then it became something where, like, it was what he was known for, but it was his escape that then became a mainstream thing that everyone was like, a performing monkey, like, go and play for us. And he's like, then he hated it now because he lost control of it. And I think one of the most valuable things, and this is what's changed in the last sort of 5-6 years, is that the top players really value privacy. And I think that is the one thing that they can control. So, like, if you look at some players, you might not know who their partners are, you might not know how many kids they've got, you might not know anything about their lives. And that's changed, I think, from 2009 to 2013, that kind of era where everything was like, put everything online, go for a coffee, put that online. Now it's like, you look at a lot of the social media accounts, they're very, like, manufactured, because the one thing they can control is the privacy of their families. And so that's, I think, a big shift, and that's probably the last bastion where they go, I don't want anyone to know what my kid's name is because it's strange, or because when having fans talk about my son or my daughter is very, very odd when they're 5 years old. So we're going to, you know, not post anything about them anywhere. And that's kind of that control that they can have. And I think that's, again, how football's changed in the last sort of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. It is slightly coming full circle a little bit in the terms of, you know, some of these England players that are progressively putting more of their life
look at James
out.
Maddison, for example.
Yeah, exactly. Like the day in the life of his TikTok sort of thing.
Yeah. But okay, so question for you then. Sorry to interrupt. Do you think that came across well?
Pod.
Do you think that came across well? When you watched that, were you like, that's quality?
I think you can, there's two perspectives on it. I think number one, you can say to him, I feel like the American side of it would be like, look at this guy, look what he's achieved. Yeah. He's living the American dream, obviously, in Britain. Yeah. He should be so proud of himself. He's worked hard. Yeah. But I feel like the British side to look at that is, look at this bell end, boasting about what he's got. Yeah. But I don't view it like that.
What about perspectives?
No, but I'm just saying that I feel like that's very, like, that's a very American view versus a very British view. Yeah. Like, especially in England, like, I feel like a lot of people are. If someone drives a nice car down the road in America, they go, "Well done, man." But in England, they go, "Look at that tosser."
I think the way that people viewed that is very self-reflective of how they feel about their own lives. If they think that he's done really well for himself and he's deserved the success that he has, then people are quite accepting of it. But there's the other side of the coin where it's a certain element of jealousy that why should you be flexing this when basically my ticket for your match pays your wages?
I personally thought it was a really...
I
liked
cool. I like the insight. There's not a lot of content like that you get to see from footballers.
To throw it back on you, if a player came to you with this TikTok which Maddison made, I would guess that you would
do it.
Yeah, would you be inclined to say don't post that just because you're scared of the backlash which could be caused? Or not?
I'm not going to tell a player, because I'm not a social media expert, so I don't tell a player yes or no. But what I would say is, like, do you want to put your Lamborghini in that? I said maybe just put a picture of your driveway, or actually don't put a picture of your driveway because then it lets people know where you live. But like, be careful of it. But like, him putting the Lamborghini in there, for me watching that as a neutral person who has never met James, was like, it's a bit flashy, it's a bit showy off, and like that for me is not how I am personally. And I think I struggle when they're just showing off for the sake of showing off. Like, they've earned good money, there's no reason they shouldn't have a Lamborghini. But to just like dangle it in front of people, for me, I would say, look, do you want to think twice about that? But I'm never going to tell a player they can't. Then they're adults; they don't have to listen to me. If they said, "What do you think?" I would give my advice. But for me, I watched that. I was interested at the training ground because, like, I've worked to help. I've worked at 3 training grounds, but try and develop it, make it better. And Leicester's is one of the best. So I was looking at that. I was like, wow, that is
serious
world class. Because you do come to West Ham, and it's not quite like that.
But that's what I mean. Like, you watched it and you took
I took bits out of it.
Yeah, from your own life and perspective of what you wanted to see, right?
But the fact that even a day in the life is somewhat not even controversial, but something we're talking about. Yeah. Means that's how difficult it is for them to be human and people. Because I don't like the fact that he showed off his car.
But he's
don't mind it.
But he's being completely authentic, right? Yeah, that is his life.
If you took a Peugeot 206, an 07 plate 206, to training, you'd be like, what are you doing there? That's not your car. Why are you driving that?
It's funny how that works. That if he'd have had a worse car, you'd expect him to receive some sort of criticism like, well, you're earning so much money, why don't you get a better car? You can't escape.
There's arguably no win for them. The one thing I did like, actually, because again, you could have 2 different opinions on it. I saw James was posting about his garden, and I've seen his garden quite a lot of. He's got a full left-side goal and everything like that. And I look at that and I'm like, oh my god, I
like your wet dream.
Quite literally,
that's actually quite inspiring to me.
Yeah.
But I can see how some people are like, look, he's just showing off.
But I would also say security concern. If you're now alerting people that if they find a garden with a goal in it, they can take a picture. They can look at your social media and compare it to your house. So that would be from a player. I don't care if he's got a goal or not. My concern then is there are a lot of players getting robbed at the moment.
A lot of players,
All you're doing is making it easier for people to find out where you live. That's dangerous for you and your family, especially someone like him who is showing off that he's got a Lamborghini, which probably means he's got watches, which probably means he's got valuable stuff in his house.
I think they were in that picture.
Yeah, they were. Literally showing where they are.
So then that would be where I'd say this is stupid. But it's difficult. There's no easy answer.
I remember talking to a player once, and at half time, their phone was going off like crazy. And obviously, you're not meant to chuck it.
But you'd be in real trouble doing that.
But he was like, "Shit, I just have to check it."
Yeah.
It turns out it was his house alarm going off, and he was getting robbed at half time.
Really?
And he had to go get the police to go round. But I just imagine knowing you're going into the second half, knowing that your house is currently getting robbed.
Yeah.
And that's just little things that may be going on behind the scenes that the public may not be aware of.
It's interesting that you've brought that up. Would you have to sort that out if that did occur?
Yeah, so that would be something where we always, most of the players switch their phones off during the game, like an hour before the game anyway. But yeah, that would be something where I would say leave it with me. We'll get a security guard to go around. I'll call the police. Like again, if I've got more staff like at West Ham, I could dispatch one of them to go and sort it out. But we've had players get robbed before where. A lot, and it's easy because they can check if they're at home by turning on TV and saying Monday Night Football. That's on the pitch. It's not at home, so probably we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So I've probably had maybe 4 or 5 burglaries in my 8 years in the clubs.